for being here. I have some more questions, but I will submit those for the record.
Senator Klobuchar.
Hello, thank you so much for being here. I was talking to Senator Whitehouse there about my previous job when I was a prosecutor, and we actually set up a whole group of prosecutors to work on this retail theft. It seems like our problems were simple back then compared to now. But I guess I'll start with you, Ms. Stuffin. Could you tell me how this federal legislation would ensure that criminals who engage in what is actually different than it was back then, I'll say, that's now organized retail theft, face accountability?
Thank you, Senator Klobuchar. The cases that we've done, which have been 218 cases in over 2 years with $2.6 million loss, show us that there's a footprint, and it's outside our state, it's across the nation, and an international footprint. A recent $8 million jewelry heist, the Rolexes were gone overseas with the fence being in Chile. So it will enhance our ability to be ahead of it, to prevent. The same type of jewelry heist had happened in the state of Washington, but we received no information, our local task force, to tell us there's this trend, be on alert to it, because it's extremely sophisticated.
That's why that retail crime coordination center would be so important.
Exactly.
You'd get that information. Mr. Glock, could you tell me how transnational criminal organizations use cargo theft to actually fund other illicit operations?
We have seen an exponential increase in cargo theft over the last 3 years. In 2023, we saw almost a 27% increase. We're seeing another 22% increase. That's a 50. Well, we estimate into 2025 we'll be 50%. We know this supply chain is going overseas. We know it's going over our border. These stolen goods essentially have a 100% markup. You steal it, and your profits are 100%. So the question is, how do we identify those nefarious actors, those networks that are the biggest threat to the homeland, as Senator Bridges talked about? That's the need for those classified databases to be run against these criminal networks, and you know well, Senator. And this bill would provide us the strategic and tactical intelligence to address these biggest threats to the homeland, which we have no doubt that these supply chains are being used to facilitate for.
Thank you. And Mr. McBride, I think this is an important point. How do the threats of violence by these organized retail crime cartels not only threaten the safety of store employees, but also make it hard to keep the stores open?
Thank you for the question, Senator. Yes, it's the threat of violence and the actual violence that some of my peers have experienced is grown exponentially over the last decade. My fellow witness here testified to the attitudes of some of the store and shop owners that are concerned for their safety when they're operating their shops. The intimidation tactics to come back and to be able to re-victimize the retail locations over and over again is grown so much that we have had to implement additional countermeasures. We've had to implement training to keep our employees safe. We've had to lock up and hide. All of that leads to a reevaluation of the investment that's being made in new stores, different locations, and those types of things, and has, in some cases, with the entire retail sector, led to product deserts in some parts of this country because stores have had to close up and leave because they could no longer sustain a viable operation because of the violence, the crime, the theft, and the losses that they are incurring.
Okay, very good. Ms. Lam, last but not least. So first of all, thank you for the support for the Ocean Shipping Reform Act, the bill that Senator Thune and I did. Yes. And as many of you know, that was about the pricing during the pandemic that was hurting our farmers and our retail, making it really difficult. And after we passed that bill on a bipartisan basis, then President Biden signed it into law. It actually, the rates went down for a number of reasons, but I think the threat of that and the Maritime Commission eventually doing rules made a difference. And it wouldn't have happened without companies like yours. So. She goes next. just one question on this topic. Do you agree that cargo theft poses a risk to the security of our food supply chain?
I absolutely
Could you
do.
explain that quickly? Why?
Yes, Senator, and thank you for the question. First of all, food and beverage is the number one targeted commodity in cargo theft, number one. And why? Demand, of course. It's so difficult to track. It's so easy to distribute. And what is so devastating about that is, the price of food we know already is so high. The average American cringes every time they go to the grocery store. And what happens with these targeted thefts on food is once you have something that's precious, any kind of food, you pick it, we see 4% stolen. Those costs are immediately passed on to the consumer. We also, and you've been very helpful with us as we discuss ag exports. And what's happened is actually targeting agricultural exports, beef, poultry, perishables. And what we also see that's happening because of so much of this transnational cargo organization crime that's happening on our railroads, pilferage. Yes, it may be secondary. We believe these thieves are after high-value cargo, but in the meantime, destruction to our ag exports as they cut the seals and the integrity of load is lost.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Moody.
Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you for introducing the federal legislation combating organized retail